We need to kind of come together and really work on trying to come up with legitimate solutions, not talking at each other.
Lieutenant Richard Mack is recovering from emergency eye surgery after police and protesters clashed on the Brooklyn Bridge last Wednesday.
It was chaos.
Mack says he was punched in the face by several people after the chief of department's team was assaulted with a stick.
They had possibly some jewelry that were like brass knuckle. They had to repair the orbital socket.
Some protesters were arrested and released.
And I feel that in the big picture of what's going on in this city, we need to stop all this rhetoric. We need to get together.
Mack had spent the month of April sick with coronavirus. Not long after he returned to work, Mack's strategic response group was responding to violence in New York after the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. We asked Mack about a proposal to have NYPD cops reside in the 5 boroughs so they're living among the communities they serve.
It doesn't matter where they physically reside. You know, I was born and raised in this city, but I've worked with some great people who were born and raised outside the city. And what mattered is the training they get, and when they're vetted.
Mack left the hospital Saturday and said he's not ready to retire yet after 25 years.
Right now, I want to stay.
He said he's committed to his work with a support group known as PAPA, police organization providing peer assistance.
There was a rash of suicides last year, a rash, and everybody talked about how much they wanted to help prevent further suicides. That's all forgotten about.
All right, will the recent events put more strain on officers' mental health? And I didn't forget about that rash of suicides. That was a real problem we were talking about last year. Donald Schweitzer, your thoughts about the mental health of officers as we continue going through what's happening in city after city?
Yeah, Benny, I've seen enough officers suffer from post-traumatic stress as a result of traumatic incidents to know what happens. Officers frequently resort to alcoholism, suicide, broken marriages, and yes, even excessive force when they're on the job, when they're not properly given medical treatment. In this particular clip, we heard this courageous officer talking about getting rid of the rhetoric and people listening to each other. And I think it's important that we know that the experts are the police officers, the good police officers that are out there, and there's an abundance of them. They really have some great ideas. Do away with the old-fashioned ideas that have been around since probably the 50s, where we're talking about officers having to live within the same jurisdiction as they work. This officer was talking about the real solutions to it. You know, he was maimed in the time when he was trying to serve others. His eye was severely damaged. It reminds me of the Vietnam era, like Ted said, the 1960s, when soldiers were coming home from war and they were spat upon and really disrespected for doing what they thought was right by just serving their country. You know, it's time that we start giving officers a little bit more respect out there, Vinny.